You are listening to the We Are West Ham podcast with me, Will Pugh, and this is the opposition view ahead of Monday night's Premier League trip to Stamford Bridge and Chelsea FC 8 p.m. kickoff across the other side of London. And joining us as ever ahead of our games against the Blues is friend of mine, friend of the podcast, a long-termer, we call him. It's Dave Chidge, Stamford Chidge from the Chelsea FanCast. Chidge, wonderful to have you back as ever, mate. I think this might be the earliest in the morning I've ever spoken to you.
Yeah, I'm not good in the mornings, Will, I'll warn you.
Me neither. 8:30 a.m. on a Thursday. This might be the shortest, most abrupt opposition view podcast that you lot have ever heard. Chidge, I was sort of thinking about it this morning. I did make myself smile because every time I speak to you on this podcast, like something seismically mental seems to have happened at Chelsea in the few short months since we spoke the last, and exactly the same has happened again. Yep. I can't remember exactly when it was. Well, I'm just trying to think when you played us first time round, and I would have spoke to you this season, right? September that was, so early-ish in the season. Like you were going okay then. I think you were sort of reasonably happy. And since then, you've literally been included in semi and fairly serious conversations about the title. And then the 15th of December came by. You've beaten Chelsea. You've beaten Southampton away, thrashed them. You'd beaten Tottenham. You'd beaten Champions League, Aston Villa, drew with Arsenal. You're on a right old roll, going well in the Conference League as well, God's tournament, of course. And then you couldn't beat Everton. You lost at home to Fulham. You lost away to Ipswich. Yeah. Couldn't beat Crystal Palace. Couldn't beat Bournemouth. Just managed to beat Wolves. And then you've lost Man City. All of that since the 15th of December. Talk to me.
Yeah, I mean, it's mental, isn't it? I mean, it's very Chelsea. I mean, it's never a dull moment at this wonderful football club.
Well, that's true.
So, what's happened? That's a very good question. There's a little bit of there's a belief that Maresca, when we were second, I mean, I think if we had beaten Everton away, we would have gone top.
Yeah.
And we got a 0-0 draw. And at the time, I think all of us are thinking, well, yeah, it was very disappointing. We had to play dice ball.
Yeah.
He made it very, very difficult for us, as always.
Because they were pants then, weren't they?
Yeah, they were, but they were good. Yeah, but they'd drawn against Arsenal the week before away. 0-0. So, it was effective what they did. I mean, we're limited by the fact that we still don't have. I mean, I like Jackson. I think he brings a lot to the team other than, scoring goals. But he needs 4 chances to put 1 away.
Yeah.
So, usual kind of stuff. If you don't put your chances away, you don't win games of football. And but at the time, because we have such a ropey record up at Goodison Park, a lot of us thought, well, actually, you know what? That's not a bad point. Everton's a bit of a bogey side up there. They drew against Arsenal, blah, 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 blah. Subsequently, it's now seen as the beginning of the rot setting in because
yes.
Well, I mean, we looked at it before Christmas and we thought, oh, look, we got quite an easy run on paper of games coming up. We'll be right in there, and come January, off we go. Let's see where we get. And then it just, I mean, it's honestly every podcast we do. I mean, I might as well not bother recording them anymore. We just pull out the one from the week before because it's the same story, right? We score early. And then we back off, and then we bottle it a bit. Or Sanchez makes an absolute howler of a Rick, and lets one in, or throws one in, and then the opposition get their tails up, and then we basically poop our pants, and we end up drawing or losing, and that has been the story since then. And okay, they're an inexperienced side full of youngsters. That makes a bit of a difference, I think. So maybe it's a mentality issue, but we're also beginning to question whether this has something to do with Maresca's tactics as well. Maybe he's been found out a bit. Right. There is a lack of leadership in the side. We wonder about their ability. I mean, after the City match, everybody basically threw their toys out the pram because we just basically our asses.
Fans, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
A massive meltdown on Twitter. It was like, I mean, kind of weird, really, because City are City. So, not many sides should expect to go up there and get.
But they're also not City, are they?
They were there for the taking, Will. That was the thing. And I think that's what really annoyed us. We got a goal. Okay, they gave us a goal, basically, very early on in the game.
Well, you're 1-0 up, aren't you? Yeah.
Yeah, and then we backed off and let them back in. And it was like, you let them off the hook. We should have won that game. So I think people basically had enough by then. So it's pretty. I mean, I wouldn't go so far as to say toxic yet, but people have lost their patience a bit at the moment with what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, you could have gone top on December the 15th with a win at Everton. And I know what you put it this way, though, the manager who's in charge then isn't there anymore. So they weren't going great guns. I know you said they got that draw at Arsenal. But really, for sort of the conversations you're in at the time where Chelsea want to be, that's a game you really need to be picking up all three. And that was December the 22nd. That was. And other than that Wolves game on the 20th of Jan, that's the last game you won in the Premier League. Now, I read the other day, Chidge, I think, that Tosin at 27 is your oldest player in your squad.
Yeah, it could well be. I mean, the average, we got the youngest squad in the Premier League. I think the average age is about 22, 23.
Yeah. Now, I know we spoke before about the, Todd Boehly and whether or not he's like, I don't know what, I'm sort of loath to call it a strategy really, but his idea of signing these young players, and it kind of felt like maybe building a team for the future with a little bit of, I don't know, a lack of understanding that actually the Premier League and Premier League fans, particularly Chelsea fans, demand results fairly like immediately. A lot of that chat seemed to have dissipated after your excellent run to second in the league or whatever. Where do you see all of that now? Because I suppose it's one of those things where I don't think anyone of a serious football mind was actually going, Chelsea could win the league. It was sort of more the ones who are, paid to be the alternate voice on mainstream radio. So you've got what sort of resembles a debate on hand at some point. Where do you sit with Boehly and the recruitment and all that now? You've obviously sounds like it's affecting you.
I thought the strategy was flawed then,
you said that on this podcast.
I think it's flawed now. But being a football supporter, when your side starts winning, and we were looking really, really good, and we were second in the table, I was beginning to think, okay, and I'm an honest
I know nothing.
Whatever else I may be, I'm an honest bloke, and if I was prepared to eat a massive dose of humble pie and say, okay, maybe they got it right. Yeah, happily. Because we all want to win,
Yeah.
But it's flawed, mate. It's absolutely flawed. I mean, the fact of the matter is that when they took over, we had one of the best managers in the game. Roman Abramovich had generally made us into an elite football club. We were one of the top 5 football clubs in the world. We were the current world champions, whatever that means, but we were,
I'm embarrassed for you for saying that.
Yeah, well, not quite as embarrassing as supporters going around singing, we're champions
of Europe.
Yeah, champions of the Mickey Mouse Cup, mate.
You'll be singing that come June, mate, when you've won the Conference League.
No, we'll be singing we've won it all, because actually we'll be the only club to have won it all.
Well, all right. Yeah,
okay. Thank you very much.
Jose can sing that, can't he? Can't Jose sing that?
No, he can't, because if you remember, Jose got the tin tack from Chelsea because he couldn't win us the European Cup.
No, but as in he can't sing it for Chelsea, but he's won all three, hasn't he?
I don't think even Jose's won the Mickey Mouse Cup.
Yeah, he won it with Roma, the first one.
Okay, well there you go. Well, Jose he's the special one, mate. Of course,
he's got a Conference League tattoo, Champions League with Porto, Europa League with United, and
Well, there we go. I stand corrected. Who am I to argue with the great special one, mate?
Exactly, mate.
But look, we'd won 20 odd trophies in 20 years of Roma. We were an elite club. We had Thomas Tuchel. The first thing Boehly does is sack Thomas Tuchel.
Yeah,
and in the 2 years since, basically our status as an elite football club has gone down the shitter. There's no other way of putting it. And it's all because they've got this, they think we're a baseball club, and they've got this great idea that you
franchise.
You buy all these kids and it'll work. And this is not Brighton Football Club, which they've kind of modelled us on. You can't get away with it at Chelsea because of the success we've had. We won't wear it. We want it. I'll tell you what, most, we're not idiots. We don't expect to win a trophy every year, although, frankly, for the last 20 before they turned up, we did.
Yeah.
We want to be competing. We want to be, in finals. We want to be, competing for the Premier League title, though, again, we haven't done that for a few years, but at least in the top four, going into the Champions League, getting into quarterfinals, semi-finals. If you can't win a trophy, you want to be competing for them. And there's been an abject lack of that since they came in. And frankly, why should we have to wait? Why should we? Why should we? Because they've got a flawed strategy. Bingo.
Sorry, Chidge. I'm still absolutely wrapped
with play, aren't you? You're lost
as you mentioned. Yeah. There will be those fans, Chidge, I must admit, who will laugh at you saying, "Why should we?" Because if I may, and I hope I've built up enough respect for you over the years we've known each other, it sounded a tad petulant. Is all I'll say. But when you say why should, no one has a divine right.
I'll tell you what. Well, let me explain why. Because it's self-inflicted. That's why. We didn't ask for this. We didn't ask for the government to try and kill our football club. We didn't ask for a bunch of idiot Americans who believe in data to come and do it their way and screw it up. We didn't ask for that.
But you didn't ask for Roman either.
No,
but you're happy to go along with that. Do you know what I mean?
That's a very pertinent point. But I mean, if you fall down the table and have a few years not competing for organic reasons, so you get a squad that grows old together, whatever. There's so many reasons why clubs fail. But organically, that's fair enough. You wear it. You say, you know what? You can't win it every year. We're going to have to go through a period of transition and regrowth. That's fine. This was self-inflicted. That's what gets our go.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I would sort of perhaps countenance that potentially the government might have had other things on their mind when raining down sanctions upon Roman Abramovich.
Namely, considering Lady Brady's involved with your football club.
Things like global security, that sort of stuff. Whether or not their primary target was to affect.
Don't get me on this. I'll have to get my tinfoil hat on, Will. I'll have to get my tinfoil
I was gonna, you know what? As you said that, I was going to say that sounds very Arsenal fan of you.
No, come on, Will, mate. We're friends. Whatever you do, never ever call me an Arsenal fan ever.
Oh dear, oh dear. 3-1. Defeat at City last time out, mate. Madueke put you up early on. A little bit of a sort of collapse after that, as you've mentioned, has been on the reg. So what's like, before we get into the West Ham game then, what sort of are you doing well at the moment? And you've mentioned the sort of mental side of it, but what are you doing well at the moment? And do you think perhaps you were a bit overly reliant on Palmer?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, apart from me moaning as per usual, I mean, there has been some really good football played this year. When they move the ball quickly, they get it forward quickly. One touch kind of football. They look a really good side, and when they press very, very high and aggressively, they look a very, very good side. So a lot of the game is great, and I mean, I think that's what they do. They come at sides really, really, aggressively and quickly from the first, from the whistle. But the problem is they don't put the chances away. So they're like really, really on top. They're actually battering sides for maybe half an hour or first half, but they go in either 0-0 or 1-0 up, or 1-1 because Sanchez has let one in, through a stupid error. Now, I mean, you've played football. I've played football. If you're playing really, really well and your keeper lets one in, it demoralises you.
Sales, doesn't it?
Yeah. Well, the defence also gets jittery as well. And that's not a help. And they're a young defence. There's no Thiago Silva in there to like calm and steady the ship. But they have been playing some good football. We have a structural problem in the team, which is we don't have a decent goalkeeper. Sanchez is letting more goals. Or he's been responsible for more errors leading to goals than any other goalkeeper in the Premier League.
Yeah, he's up there with Onana, isn't he?
He's worse. He's worse statistically. We don't have a striker who you can rely on to get goals. Now, as I said, I like Jackson. I think he brings a lot to the team other than scoring goals. But if he's having a bad dip of form, which he is at the moment, the problem we also have is we don't have anybody to come in and replace him. We've got a 19-year-old kid called Guay, and Nkunku who's not a striker, and he's also sulking because he's not getting game time and he's not really physically up to it, I think, in the Premier League. So you've got a goalkeeper who can't keep them out. You've got strikers who can't put them in, which means you're relying on Cole Palmer, who is an unbelievable talent. I mean, an unbelievable, come on, you and I have watched football a long time. When you go and you sit there and you watch a player who makes you go, 3 or 4 times a match, what a talent. But he can't do it on his own. And now teams have figured him out a bit. They're putting 2-3 men on him, and that constrains him. And there's nobody who can, normally in a situation, you have another player or two who could take advantage of that, use the space that the other defenders are leaving and capitalize.
Yeah.
We don't have players that can do that.
No.
So, that's kind of on the playing side where the problems are, added to the lack of leadership, added to the mentality. But we do play good football at times, Will. It's just we can't sustain it.
No, it's funny with that like mono threat thing you talk about with Palmer, because I remember West Ham fans will hark back, and rightfully so, about the season where Dimitri Payet was playing so well. What very, very few of them ever talk about is how dangerous Manuel Lanzini was on the opposite wing, and how effective Diafra Sakho was. We'd give our right arms for a striker like him now. At the time, no one was sort of too excited about him because he did a lot of stuff off the ball as well as his stuff on the ball. But Mark Noble, laugh or not, had the best season of his career that year. Cheku Kouyaté was an absolute wrecking ball in the midfield. And both of them could go forward as well. So teams couldn't just put everyone on Payet, because as soon as they did, Manuel Lanzini was really effective, so they couldn't double up on him. So they had no choice but to go 1-to-1 throughout the whole pitch. You've got Palmer, and him and Madueke have got a nice little link up. I think they're in the Heung-min Son, Harry Kane sort of era where they were sort of consistently setting up goals for each other. Weirdly, it's Palmer more for Madueke. It was a stat I saw the other day. But what I mean is, no one in the Premier League is whooping themselves about the prospect of playing Jadon Sancho or Noni Madueke or anyone else you've got, really, are they? So they go, it's just a numbers game. They go, you know what? Let's just double up on Palmer. Yeah. And as long as he's eliminated, then we'll take our chances one-on-one against the others. Yeah. And you can't be like that at a team of your level, can you?
No, exactly that. And there are no mugs in the Premier League anymore.
There are a few.
Southampton.
yeah. Ipswich are decent, aren't they? They proved that against you.
They beat us. They beat us. They had a game plan. This is my point. That's what I mean when I say there are no mugs in the Premier League. The managers are good. They're tactically organised. They can be at the very minimum tough to beat. And then if you're a team that's going to shoot yourself in the foot as well, you end up where we are. But there are some good players at Chelsea. Caicedo's been superb. Cucurella, I think, is a very good player. Reece James is back, but there's question marks about will he be the Reece James that we knew, a couple of years ago. Palmer's a good player. I think, Neto's dropped off a bit recently. We had high hopes for him. Madueke got a bit of an attitude problem, can be a bit raw, but I like him. He's a talent, and he's a player that will have a pop as well. He beat players and have a go. Sancho, I've liked since he's come along. I'll be happy if we signed him. Yeah. But and they were beginning to play a bit more like a team before the blip, and it's all gone a bit pear-shaped since then. But it's not all doom and gloom.
No.
But I think the problem that we've got at Chelsea from a supporter's point of view is that, as with most supporters, when you're winning on the pitch, everything's fine and you forget everything else. But when you're not winning on the pitch, then everything else comes into play. And there's a huge amount of dissatisfaction off the pitch with these owners. It's not just the strategy, which we all think is bonkers. It's the fact that it's impossible to get tickets for games now because they're basically kind of increasing the amount of corporate hospitality wherever they can. The VA, we have a ticketing. I don't know what you got at West Ham, but we've got the virtual waiting room. It's impossible to get tickets. The ticket exchange is infested with bots, so that used to be a really good way to pick up a ticket. Ticket touting is a massive problem. There are third-party sites selling Chelsea tickets before they're even released to us. So and then there's the branding and all. I mean, there's no stadium still. I mean, 10 years ago, over 10 years ago, 2013, Roman Abramovich announced the plans for a new stadium. This lot have come in. They've been in nearly 3 years, and we've still had nothing. So there's a lot of dissatisfaction off the pitch. So when you start losing games, everything's bad.
Yeah, sure.
When you start winning games, you start forgetting about a lot of that stuff as well. So, you need a bit of perspective sometimes, I suppose.
Right, Chidge, one more before we talk about the game on Monday. Robert Sanchez, you mentioned him already. What's going on there? Because you've got about 904 keepers on your books, and yet somehow he's the one you choose. Everyone, it seems, with two eyes in their head, can tell that he's an issue for you this season and that he's just not quite up to it. He was sort of one of them, as far as I understand it, who was brought in to be good with his feet, as so many modern goalkeepers have to be now. But it appears he's not very good at that, and not overly great at saving the ball with his hands either.
Well, I mean,
which has a combo.
Yeah, I mean, he's a good he's a good shot stopper. He's actually, he's kept us in plenty of games by making some great saves, but he's not good with his feet. There's no doubt about that. But then very few keepers are. I feel sorry for him.
Yeah, actually. It's a bit of a myth, isn't it? That I totally agree with you.
Absolutely.
Alisson and Edison, decent. Beyond that,
I've seen him make ridiculous errers as well.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
It's all Pep Guardiola's fault, as we well know. Yeah. Pep has ruined football, but and he's bald. But apart from that, I feel sorry for Sanchez, because actually what should happen is he should be taken out of the firing line for a bit to get his confidence back. But you've got this kid called Jorgensen, who I've seen in the Conference League, and I don't think he's much better. This is all on the sporting directors, our illustrious elite sporting directors whose former careers were at Brighton and Monaco, those well-known elite football clubs. And also,
recruitment-wise, Brighton are all right, to be fair. But
for Brighton,
good
for Brighton.
I quite agree with you.
Anyway,
you're trying to be.
Yeah, well, that's the problem, isn't it? But
what you'd give to be as good as Brighton,
mate? Don't even go there. Anyway, the other theory going around at the moment, we have a head of global goalkeeping called Ben Roberts.
What a title!
Yeah, called Ben Roberts, and there's a theory that it's him that's insisting that Sanchez plays, and he's the number one. Ben Roberts is most famous for being the backup Middlesbrough goalkeeper in the 1997 FA Cup final against Chelsea, where Robbie Di Matteo beat him from 40 yards on 43 seconds. Push.
So he just got a grudge.
It's his
yeah.
Exactly that. It's a joke. Look, mate, you've got Kepa Arrizabalaga, who, smoke hands, as we used to call him, but he's been playing really well for Bournemouth this season. Right? But better than that, we had the goalkeeper. Pochettino basically lost his patience with Sanchez last season and put one of our other 9 goalkeepers in goal, a guy called Petrovic. And he was really good. He's absolutely tearing it up in Ligue 1 with Strasbourg. And is becoming highly rated. I mean, why didn't they bring one of those two back over the loan period? I mean, why not? It's just bloody stubbornness of, no, we know best. Well, clearly they don't.
My new favourite phrase, Chidge, I've developed it this season, is you don't need to have a UEFA Pro licence to see that, and then insert blatantly obvious football observation here that manager refuses to see. Yeah, exactly. I'm totally with you. All right, talk to me about the game then, Chidgey. Monday night. I'm trying to blag myself a ticket. I'm down there for work beforehand anyway. I'm hoping to get in to the game.
Get work to sort it out, mate. For
don't worry, Chidge. That's one of the avenues. That's one of the avenues being explored. Don't worry about that. Yeah. But then you've got such a pony little press box down there, haven't you?
I know, it is, isn't it?
Just enough for about 4 men and 4 men and a dog.
You're above the dugout, so you can hear what's going on. In fact, actually, between you and the dugout now are what they call dugout seats, which they're selling them for the Liverpool match for 12.5 grand.
Fucking hell.
For a seat.
Blimey, sorry, we never swear on this podcast, but I think I'll leave that one in because that was appropriate. It
was 12.5 grand.
I've like literally sat in those for the press games as well. Like half the game you can't see because
I know they're the worst seats
upper
in the
tier,
ground.
the upper tier hangs down too low, so you can't see the other touchline, and then you can't see much. It's like watching a game through a letterbox from them. It's unbelievable.
It's mental, mate. Absolutely mental.
So given the run of form you're on, I didn't realise it was quite as bad as it is until doing my prep for this little chat. Given the run of form you're on, I actually feel all right about it now. But we've got no players whatsoever.
Have you really got big injury problems?
Yeah, we're absolutely decimated. No Bowen. He might be back for this. Somerville, he's been out. He might be back. We've been playing Lucas Paqueta up front, which does sort of stop him giving the ball away in the more dangerous areas, centre midfield, I suppose. But defensively, we're in a bit of trouble, basically. Emerson will be playing. I think we played Aaron Cress. We played 4 fullbacks last game at Villa and actually did okay, but it was a decent enough performance for the after the first 10. But what are you expecting? How are you expecting the game to go?
I've got no idea, mate. I really have. Well, I have. We'll score early, then we'll sit back. Sanchez will throw one in the net. Then we'll batter you and not be able to put the ball away. And then either you'll nick a winner in the last minute. That's what happens. Because this is what happens every week, Will. In all seriousness, I'll tell you what. I mean, look, the weird thing is I looked at, there's this brilliant, I should get paid for this, I don't, but I should. There's this brilliant app called Flash Score, which funnily enough, I found when we were working at Love Sport.
Yeah.
And it gives you the form over the last 5, 10, 15, 20 games. I think we're 14th with 5 points. And you're 15th with 4 points. So it's got 0-0 written all over it, hasn't it?
No, it's so funny you say that about Chelsea, though, because what you described is pretty much precisely what we did against Aston Villa away. Like last time out. We went 1-0 down after 7 minutes and were abjectly bad for the first 15. And then played really well for the second, 75, 80 minutes, if you include stoppage time. And then got one back in the second half. Emerson back post header. So, I mean, I might actually have a little wager, I think, on Chelsea to be winning at halftime, West Ham draw at full time.
Yeah, that's a good show. I mean, the other thing you got to factor in, of course, is this is the return of Harry Potter.
Of course, I didn't even think of that. Yeah. How will he be received?
I don't know is the honest answer, but I would hope quite warmly. Actually, I don't think there was genuinely, a lot of ill feeling towards Potter. Yeah, we just saw a guy who was just massively out of his depth at a club the scale of Chelsea, and also we had the whole madness of buying all those players. And
of course, yeah.
But he was just a bit. He's clearly a lovely bloke, but Chelsea was way too big for him. And I don't think there'll be ill feeling towards him really at all. I really don't, and I hope not, because I think he's a decent bloke.
Yeah, fair enough. So where are you most susceptible then to conceding goals, Chidge? Are they sort of out wide, down the middle? How does it work?
Yeah, that's a really good point, actually, Will. I mean, we often. I think, against City, we got done because we played a stupidly high line, and Haaland bullied either Chalobah or Colwill, which is like stupid tactics. But against a lot of teams, what I do find is that our midfield gets run through quite easily. So I think we're very susceptible, as the hipsters and football managers like to say, on the transition. So whatever the fuck that means. But anyway, so in old money, what happens is you move the ball quickly and run past our midfield who failed to put a tackle in. Enzo runs more slowly than I do, and I'm nearly 60. So there's that.
Fernandez, you mean, not Maresca?
We just might as well put Maresca in, actually. I mean, he was a midfielder. Anyway, that's a problem. You've got people who go to sleep, like Madueke, who didn't track back against Guardiola, of course, so that can be a weak area if you attack flanks. He's got this inverted fullbacks idea, so he likes to bring Cucurella into the midfield and further up, and James, that can leave gaps. So we do have some vulnerabilities. And as I said, Caicedo often gets, if Caicedo plays with Fernandes, which he's likely to do because Lavia is made of glass and is always injured, which is a shame because he's a good player. And we look much more balanced when he plays. But when it's Fernandes and Caicedo, Fernandes is, is more effective up front, not so good defensively, not very quick, not particularly good at tackling. Caicedo gets isolated. Yeah, exactly. So what does he do?
He says, well,
he's won a World Cup because Messi was good. That's right. Anyway, so Caicedo gets isolated, which can be a bit of a worry. But he's been brilliant. I mean, he was pants last year, but this year he's really stepped up, and he looks like 100 million midfielder. He's a good player. But he can't do it on his own. And if the system doesn't help him out, it can be a worry. So I mean, you can get at us, even without Sanchez throwing one in for you. So that is a bit of a worry.
Fingers crossed he does anyway, mate. Look, Chidge, it's been absolutely brilliant talking to you. Even you know what? Look, even doing it at 8:30 in the morning on a Thursday, I would consider my energy to be up now as a result.
You wound me up, so it woke me up. You see, that's
exactly that, mate.
And my incredibly strong coffee kicked in.
Yeah, quite. Yeah, I'm going to go and have mine very shortly, I think, before I run myself into the office. Chid, go on.
If we score 2 in the first half, fairly early on, I think we could absolutely hammer you. But if we don't put our chances away in that first half when we'll be on top, then we're in for a similar repeat of what we've seen recently, I think.
Yeah, well, I mean, if they're going to be, I might also have a wager on Chelsea to score twice in the first 15 minutes because that's how long it took us to wake up at Aston Villa last time out. So, I don't know. I love the Chelsea games, particularly the Chelsea away games. I've celebrated a few decent goals there.
You've had a few results, haven't you?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Not always. We have to get a few hammerings as well and a few robberies when the referees are on your side. But obviously, you lot of big teams don't have all that anymore with the arrival of glorious VAR, do you? So thank God for VAR. That's all I can say. Finally levelling the playing field. Anyway, Chidge, it's been absolutely brilliant having you on, as always.
I can't believe you backed VAR. Honestly, Will, what's wrong with you?
It's been absolutely brilliant, mate. Just quickly, what's the score Monday night? West Ham against Chelsea at Stamford Bridge.
Yeah, sod it. I'm going to be positive. I'm going to go 3-1 to us. There you
3-1 to Chelsea. Yeah, I mean,
what we haven't talked about is it's on Monday night. You know that Chelsea haven't had a home Premier League game on a weekend for nearly 2 months. It'll be by the time we get to March.
Really?
Right? But we've had Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays. We've got Brighton away on a Friday on Valentine's Day. I mean, and I can't go in the week because I work hard for my money. So I'm very pissed off about the fact that we haven't got any home games at the weekend at the moment.
I was very pissed off when I found that out that you'd already given your ticket away, mate. You know the ticket showed you undated with bots.
No. My nephew is the lucky beneficiary of my having to work hard for a living, but there you go.
Absolutely. Look, brilliant chatting to you as ever. Cheers. That's Chelsea away Monday night. West Ham go to Stamford Bridge, 8 p.m. kickoff. UK time. Thanks very much for listening, everyone. Chidgey's going a 3-1 win to Chelsea. I'm going to go 2-1 to West Ham. I don't know why. Sounds absolutely insane, but I love the Chelsea away games. One of the ones I look forward to every season. Fingers crossed. I'm going to be down there at the bridge on Monday. Thanks for listening, everyone. Don't forget to subscribe on patreon.com/WeAreWestHam podcast if you want these podcasts a day earlier than non-Patreon members, and you get ad-free listening as well, of course. Follow us on all our socials. Just search We Are West Ham podcast on your favourite social platform and you'll find us there, apart from Facebook. Too young for that, apparently, according to Jonesy. And do subscribe to the YouTube channel. Thanks for listening, everyone. Chelsea away Monday night. What a game. Come here, Irons. Up the Hammers, and West Ham are massive. We'll speak to you next week.